Hello friends, as you can see I've got some limbs down, gonna get those cleaned up pretty soon, but today we are talking about Colossians, and we've been studying kind of these books, these prison epistles that Paul writes while he is under house arrest, because we've been stuck at home, and luckily and hopefully, you know, this is coming to an end, and we'll be able to be together in some form or fashion, even if it's limited, pretty soon, and I'm pretty excited about that. But today we're going to look at Colossians chapter 3, and we're going to be looking at verses 5 through 11. And last week we talked about dying with Christ and being raised with him again, and focusing on things that are above and things that are not of this world. And today we're going to talk about kind of the other side of that coin. And Paul is going to talk about putting off our old self. So let's go ahead and read. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you: sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these, the wrath of God is coming. In these you too once walked when you were living in them. But now you must put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices, and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge after the image of its Creator. Here there is not Greek and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all. So we've been raised with Christ, and what that means is we must have died, because that's what happened with Jesus, right? He died on the cross, and then he rose from the dead. And a few verses earlier, Paul says we've been raised with Christ. So if we've died, what did we die to? And this is what these verses are about. Verse 5, he says, "Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you." In order to be raised with Christ in this new life that we're supposed to be living, we have to die to these physical passions that he's going to list out: sexual immorality and evil desires and covetousness, all these things that move us physically and make us tempted to fall into this trap. And then he goes on, he has another list of things down there. He says, you must put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth. And these are all things that we do to one another. And so first we have to die to our physical, internal passions that drive us. And it's not saying that necessarily, you know, a lot of this is us taking advantage of good emotions that God gave us, good things that God gave us, and we use them out of context and wrongly, because we allow ourselves to be taken over by our passion. And then, you know, these other things: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk. Anger is an emotion, and wrath and slander, these are things that we do when we're angry, and these are things that we do when we sin and when we misuse our anger, when we misuse it for our own selves. And all of these things are things that we have to watch out for individually. They're things that we have to make sure that we're keeping up our side of the bargain, that we're being raised with Christ into this new person. But also, I think Paul has in mind the idea of togetherness, because everything that he talks about is about Christ. But there's also these undertones of being one in the church. And he says, you know, don't lie to one another. And he says, here, right here where we are, in other words, the church, in this kingdom that you're now a part of, here there's no Greek, there's no Jew, there's no circumcised, there's no uncircumcised, there's no barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all. And today we might add on to that, you know, there's no, whatever you want to put, black, white, you know, Republican, Democrat, however you want to put it, we're all one in Christ. There's no differences. There's only Christ, and he's in everything, in every part of our life. He's our focus. He's our number one drive. He's the thing that makes us get up in the morning. He's the thing that we're thinking of as we're going to bed at night, because he is all to us. So once again, Paul is focused on Christ. Let's do the same thing as we finish out, you know, as we keep doing this and trying to keep each other safe through this virus and whatever's going on. Let's continue to focus on Christ through all of it, and focus on each other in this family and kingdom that we're a part of. So I love you guys. I'm going to pray for you guys, and I hope you're still praying for me, and we'll see you again tomorrow.